because I plan on pushing buttons. This is what we do here. And he was literally telling me how high quality the WP stuff is compared to the Japanese stuff. Today is my KTM will not start day, because I don't want to give everybody bad dreams, and if I read it, I might have them. So, but you can also order this book. Hi, welcome to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. This is your podcast where we very calmly and in a relaxed manner talk about your motorcycle and motorcycle product related questions. My name is Jimmy Lewis. I'm your host tonight to help you see the light at the end of your motorcycle riding problem, corridor, whatever it is. So with that, we're a very isolated show tonight. There's no one in the studio audience. I'm just here by myself pushing buttons on this computer, and I think that it's actually working, but I don't know. So you're going to have to leave a message in the comments that lets me know that I pushed all the right buttons tonight, because I plan on pushing buttons. This is what we do here. Cheers. This show would not be possible without the help of some awesome sponsors. Yamaha, of course, always looking out for us over here at Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. And there's a few more things that I got to get to. I'm not going to get to this tonight. I'm taking a night off on Tuesday, which is really strange, but I've got better reasons. So I'm trying to get into the chat here. I should be able to, since I do run this whole thing, but we'll see. So I can't really see how it's going. As usual, there's a technical difficulty, but I'll get to the bottom of this. Show number 260, believe it or not. 260 shows that we've done here on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. And I'm really, really trying to get this chat board up here, because I can't see it. I can actually see that it's working in the stream, but for some reason it's not working on my not working on my screen. So we'll see how it goes. I know a way that I can no, I can't do that because it comes in from all different directions. I knew there would be something wrong. So tonight I'm going to answer the questions that we have from there we go, it's working. I'm going to answer the questions that we have from our last videos, which are not a lot, but I got a few there. Yeah, no tequila tonight, Victor. No, I got. I'm sitting next to my tequila. That's my co-host right there. But you can just hang up the show right now. You can just hang up on it. But if you want to call in, if you want to be a guest on the show and call in, and you have my number, go ahead. I'll take a guest. I've got a cord. I could plug you in and bring you in live on the show. If you haven't been paying attention, probably because you shouldn't. I had Mike Young on the show last week. The show before that was Joey Evans. Both these guys have really motivational things to say. Really awesome people. And I just uploaded those today, or I'm in the process of uploading those, so they're not actually out there like we usually put them out there. So if you're curious, if you're ever wondering how to see this show, like usually it takes me these days about a week to get it edited and posted up. So you can always go back to Facebook and look at our channel, or not Facebook. Facebook, they live forever. And on YouTube, we actually have an edited version that goes back up there. But there's, for the first week on YouTube, there's a live version of the show, which is more horrible than the edited version of the show, which means it's not that much better overall collectively. So hopefully that answers your question about where to find it. So how do I ask a question on this show? It's real simple. You type it into the chat of whatever you're listening to or watching right now. So that's hard for a lot of people because they're watching on a TV set. So maybe you go onto your phone and find it there, and then you can type in that way. That's probably the easier way. I don't know why you'd watch this on your TV set, because it's just a picture of me standing here next to the screen. And Mark does see mezcal on the table. This is illegal mezcal. So illegal mezcal reposado. A viewer sent those to me not too long ago. So I'll go back to this shot so you can see. Actually, I can show you another way here. I'm showing it up. The emergency camera's not working. So I hope we don't have an emergency. So I'll have to go up to that camera. So there we go. That's that one. So you are correct. So I'm going to dive right into the questions. Again, Yamaha bringing you the show. Taco Moto would bring you Rooster Endo, but guess what? Nobody could figure out how to submit Rooster Endo submissions this week, and I'm figuring it out. It's that the live people all know, and they've already submitted their bikes. And then if they are live, they try to submit it while I'm doing the show, and then I completely miss it because these 2 hours of my life get completely erased. So that's problematic. You have to send me an email with Rooster Endo in the subject line, and then I can get it. But since I didn't publish any of the videos up on YouTube or out to the podcast platforms, nobody did it. But think, you could have won. You could have been the only one, and by default, you would have won the $100 gift certificate from Takomoto. So takomoto.co, if you're wondering what that is, you should go look at it on the internets. And Taco Mike there, he can answer your questions. Don't put the illegal mezcal near the ice. The ice. The ice, like the ice guys that come and try to get you, Victor? Those ice guys? Or the ice in the cup? Because I like it neat. Pretty neat. I don't like to water that stuff down, but that stuff is good. If you go back 2 or 3 shows, that's where we tapped into it. We broke it open, and actually both these they came at the same time, and they're both on the same schedule as far as they're the same amount down. They've been doing really good. So my tequila podcast, it's coming along, which means I've done absolutely nothing to get it done, but I should. Because I could, but I'm busy. I've been building road books for the Nora 500. And by the way, I probably said it last week. You should really, if you are ever thinking about going riding a race in Mexico, you should do this one. Because I think just the way things are going, that anytime that we with Nora find really good stuff, it doesn't take long for Score to come along and use it up and tear it up. And then the thing is, there's a lot of places where we go where they can't go, but they'll use as much of it as they can. And there was some places that we wanted to go that we couldn't go because it was all torn up to get there. So anyways, go do it. Dave Donnelly asks, can you win twice for the same bike? And the answer is no, Dave. You can't win twice. So you could try. A couple people have. In fact, I think someone did, and they ratted themselves out. They told me what they were doing, or they told us, me and Taco Mike or something, or at least they submitted it twice and told us. So that's how that works. So tonight, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to answer our YouTube questions like I always do. I am going to go on to the Facebooks. Dare I go on the Facebooks and answer questions from the KTM Gas Gaskin Husky 4-stroke form. A lot of these questions have been answered, and they've been answered multiple times by people that post a lot. And I might actually read through the comments. That would be really strange, but I might do that tonight. But yet, I'm going to handle the questions we have on our posts over at YouTube. So go to Dirt Bike Test YouTube channel if you want to watch videos about dirt bikes some of the times. Our first question is from TG Sharp 1158. And he's talking about our Beta 300 RR versus Beta Race Edition. Good video. One problem, though, is you keep saying this bike, this, and this bike, that. But no one knows which bike you're talking about because the speaker is off screen. It seems like an amateur mistake. Well, I could use the Google automated populated responses that would say, Dear TG Sharp, we will make sure to improve on our on-screen cues in the future. But I wouldn't say that. Or, thanks for the feedback. We are always looking for ways to improve. But if you've been watching this podcast for very long, you know that's bullshit. I'm glad you enjoyed the video, even though this person can't figure out what that means. I'd have to go watch that video again, and you know how painful it is to watch yourself on the internets. But Michael Wilson asks, what bike are you riding the most right now, or what is your current favorite bike? So, Michael, good question. Lately, what bike am I riding the most? Mileage-wise, it's been the KTM 500 that I was using for verifying the course down in Baja, because that was a few 8-hour days, 2 8-hour days and a 4-hour day, or however it works. So that much was mileage-wise. Time probably the same. I've been riding the Can-Am Origin a little bit, mostly just to haul my ass around this property and then run into the store because I'm testing that bike. I've been riding an SSR 125 and an SSR 250. I think it's a 250. Yeah, they're 250. 230, 250. I had to look at the shroud to remember what it is. I've been putting those things around and riding that a little bit. The other night, I took my new-ish, to me, KTM 300 for a spin to check it out, to make sure I wasn't being sold a lemon, because I know the guy that I bought it from is quite the salesman. And I think I got a good deal, so I had to check it out. And that's the last few bikes that I've ridden. I've been riding a lot, but not the bikes that I want to, except for maybe the 300. I mean, yeah, my 500 works pretty good in Baja, but I don't know. I kind of want to. I think I want to take my Yamaha down there, but it didn't have a big enough gas tank. Let's see. Baja race or rally route or what? Asks Michael. The Nora Mexican 500. Actually, I'm wearing the shirt right now because I had to do a Instagram post for them, because tonight is the last night you can register for that. So if you want to do that, register. There you go. The more you know. And Shimmy 277, he made it on time for a change. So thanks, Shimmy. So I'm curious, where's everybody checking in from? Because some people tell me we should start the show an hour earlier so that they can go to bed, because they live on the other side of that line where the clock changes. And then but the people up in Canada, because I have like 2 Canadian viewers, and they don't care because they don't know whether it's day or night because they're underground. Now the sun's going down so early, it comes up so late that it's always dark there. So that's good. And then the people in Australia, everything's backwards because it all spins backwards down there. And we have someone from P-Town, which would be Pahrump, Valley of the Dirt People. I don't say that as much as I used to, probably because I feel it. And we got someone from Utah. That's almost like Canada, just different. Okay, diving back into the questions over here on the YouTubes. Chandelmon's 7,441, and he's asking about is a rebuilt YZ250 as good as a new one? He says, I have found using a wire hone tool with a drill along the cylinder walls helps keep the compression levels up with the 2 strokes. Interesting. I don't disagree with that necessarily. And Shimmy is from Argentina. Probably not my main audience. No. See, I found the Canadian, Michael Wilson. See, I picked you guys out, didn't I? And then we've got someone else from Canada. So you can check the chat and see where everybody's flying in from. And David Diaz says he's giving away dead batteries at no charge. You said jokes. Enjoy the show. It gives me something to look forward to every Tuesday. Oh boy. You could, if you go down, you could go down and get some batteries from David Diaz, and you can take them and recycle them, and then they're not free anymore. You can make a little bit of money. So, Argentina. Wow, that's cool. If you have Argentinian bike questions, and I tell you what, man, I can do some really, we call it jimmy rigging. I can jimmy rig stuff, and when I've been to other countries, I haven't spent a whole lot of time in Argentina, but I rode in there illegally once on accident. Not my fault. The border guards were asleep way up in the mountains, and we were riding on this mountain road trail, and they went up higher on the rocks to sleep because it was early when we went over the thing. They went up high to catch the sun because we're in the Andes, and we rode in. And then we knew we were always going to come back, and the guides we were with kind of knew it was a border, but they're like, oh, there's no one here. We can go past, because usually they stop there. So we went past, then we came back, and they were down there, and they weren't very happy because they had to get up and run down the hill. And it was cold. They had to run down the hill to try to arrest us. So, but I pulled wheelies for them. That's how we got back across the border. And they had motorcycles too, these guys. So pretty cool. Yeah, Brian, no co-host today. I kicked them all out. I didn't invite anybody here, and so nobody showed up. It's normal. Mark Allen asked a question. Have you tried any alternative maps on the OEM ECU of the KTM 500? I'm in eastern Ohio here, near Wellsville, where they have had the Hollow Point hard enduro a couple weeks ago. So, thanks for joining in from eastern Ohio. I have not on any of the more recent KTMs. On older ones that we were able to use in a key-in programming tool, I was able to get into some of them. There was kind of like a sort of a workaround that you could get into them, and I was able to do it on that. But I haven't really messed with the OEM ECUs at all. Like if I really want to change the ECU, I get a completely different one, like a Get or an Athena, or Get Athena. They're the same. The Get one or the drawing a blank on the other name right now. Somebody will probably beat me in the chat, but the funny thing is that by the time I figure it out, the lag here will have caught up, and you'll be able to tell me it's the other ECU is the Vortex. There we go. So I didn't see a comment from JB Black. Was that early in the show? I must have missed it. Oh wait, there it is. At what age will I get my first pube? That went pretty quick. Yeah. Stuck on your teeth. And now I get it. Victor held that one back for a little while. This is a motorcycle. Let me relax a little bit. Motorcycle product and product related question show. So, you can put that stuff in the chat because I don't have to say it out loud. Most people do listen to this in a podcast format, and we try to answer their questions. the bottles are definitely filling the co-host spots tonight. So, and no, I'm not really getting too angry. Can't you tell? Can't you tell in my nice, calm voice that I'm trying to use tonight? Trying to stay relaxed, chill, all that stuff. So, okay, back to the YouTube questions. Back to the honing a wire hone with the cylinder walls. I don't think it hurts anything. I'm a little torn on exactly how much you need to do that. And if you have the tool, I would say do it. I didn't always have the tool, and so I got really. It was normal for me to just throw, especially on 2-strokes or actually any bike, I would just rebuild them. It was just a tool I didn't have. I have a couple of hones now, and because I didn't notice a big difference in rebuilding them with or without, I just don't do it that often. So if I have one that maybe is seized and left a little bit of debris or something in there, and I spend a little bit of time in there with the muriatic acid and maybe a little bit of the sandpaper and stuff like that, if I have the hone for it, then I will run a hone for it. So I have a hone right now. I have one for the KTM 300 size bore and also for the KTM 500 size bore. I ordered those for those, and because I was cleaning up ones that had a little bit of mess in them, and I thought it would help. But just when I've done it before, when it was just a standard rebuild, I didn't notice too much of a difference. So Unwillingful asks 5 days ago about the 2018 Honda Africa Twin Adventure Sports review. He says, retrospective, would you put a steering damper on this bike? I found the front wheel to be way too easy to turn, and I could imagine getting lots of wobbles. So I don't know why you have to imagine getting lots of wobbles. Either you do get lots of wobbles or you don't. So the imagining part probably comes from the internet. But I have not met a bike that did not like a properly tuned, proper steering damper. The disadvantages are cost, and sometimes mounting is a little bit of a problem. And there's some brands and types of steering dampers I'm not fond of, but ones that you can put on and you can't tell they're on there, but when you hit something that causes the bike to do something that you don't like, then they help. If you have a bike that gives you lots of wobbles, like you're talking about, so light steering bikes tend to, this is where I can kind of go in a deep dive. Like light steering bikes, maybe it's easier to induce the wobble, like with you, but heavier steering bikes, if you're the same guy and you can get the wobbles through the heavier steering bikes, they don't go away as easy. Like light steering bikes, the wobbles go away easier than heavy steering bikes. That makes sense. It's just like whatever they've done with the handling, if you can get it to wobble, I'm hoping you're talking about head shake there. If you can get it to head shake, it's probably number one, your setup, and then B, how you are riding that bike. So kind of think about that. But if you properly set up steering damper, and I run the Scott steering damper, I always have. I've liked it since day one because on day one I rode with one and we put something into it, which is that free back to center valving that really makes a big difference. And here we go. Michael Wilson has a random question all the way from Canada. He asks, if I install a new header pipe on a WR250X, is the ECU mod imperative? So the answer is it depends on the pipe. And I think for the most part, you would want to have, especially when it's a header and a pipe, that kind of starts sounding to me like a motocross, a complete system. And generally, motocross systems flow quite a bit, and so it's definitely more open. It's going to make that bike lean. So at that point, some of the slip-ons that try to maintain a near stock sound level, it's no problem. You can throw those on. But if you start, once you start running, something that's going to suck a lot of fuel, or it needs a lot of fuel, The restriction has been kind of let off. You're gonna need to do something to add some fuel to it. So not necessarily an ECU mod. Sometimes you can go with a piggyback tuner or whatever. So I think when you're talking about WR250X, that's not the dirt bike. That's the kind of Yamaha dual sport bike. Correct me if I'm wrong there. With the WR250 R, which is the dirt bike, you just get the competition ECU, and then you have basically a YZ. Brian Horton, favorite brake pads and rotor combo for mountain riding. He says he's due for some. So, Brian, my favorites are the Galfer brake pads and stuff. But in all honesty, all of this, anything you can get that's new, generally, is going to be an improvement over if your rotors are that worn. Or I'm suspecting since you're riding the mountain, you've dented them and bent them a little bit because you didn't have a front disc rotor protector. By the way, Bulletproof Designs can hook you up with a front disc rotor protector, not made out of this fine. I think this is. Did he write the kind of wood it was on there? I know, but there's some floats. That's the thing. I think it's mahogany or something like that. It's a really nice wood. It's a very beautiful front brake disc rotor protector. But if you would just quit hitting the rocks, you wouldn't have that problem. The rear, they're going to get dented a little bit. But the same thing, a shark fin really helps out there. But I've run the Galfer ones. I've run braking stuff before. I've run MotoMaster stuff before. I've used there's another one that's I've used AJP or AP. I'm sorry, AP pads also, which were really good. And then I've used some of just this generic brands. And the more this is like anything. There's like a kind of an exponential curve. The more you pay, you're going to see a little bit better results, because you can buy some just knockoff stuff, and you'll find that the metals on the rotors aren't as good. Sometimes the pads, it's kind of a combo. Pads seem to be more important than rotors, and what I notice with rotors is feel. Like once you come on the brakes, and then when once the brakes are kind of dragging, and then the way that the brakes, I don't want to say grab, because that would be a bad thing, but the way that the brakes, the progressive binding that they use to get there. So just there's like a consistency that I like, and the rotors definitely play a big part in it. So I've noticed that different kind of groovings and shapes kind of have a little bit different feels sometimes. Most of the time, the way you break the rotor in also has a big effect on how it works as well. So, lately it's been the Galfer brakes that I've been really happy with. And Shim from Argentina rides a Beta 300 Race Edition with 80 hours on it. He's happy so far. I don't see any problems with that comment at all. That's those are good bikes. I bet you guys got some. I know they have some good riding in Argentina. So cool. And Victor, who's replying back to the steering damper comment, he has no wobbles on his Africa Twin, even at 125 miles an hour. So that's right. And yep. And Michael Wilson's Yamaha is the WR250X, which is the Supermoto version. So good. Pipe will. Pipe on one of those. I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to do some work on the ECU. I would look at that one in particular. I would look at like a piggyback fueling unit, something like a JD jetting unit that you can piggyback on the top of that, and then that way it allows you to do all the stuff that you need. So good. We got through that round of questions. Elo Beery TV on YouTube says, I was the guy that posted on Facebook about the burnt clutch. Thanks for talking about it. The original clutch was slightly burnt, but not nearly as bad as the new one, so we think we made a mistake when fitting it. We know he put the push rod in backwards and set the pressure plate ring position on 1 instead of 2, which seems to be what everyone says to do. that's a feel thing with the pressure plate thing. It wouldn't affect the clutch wearing out or not in all reality. So for the oil problem, I think he's flushed out as much as he can, and that was what sat in the engine. He's going to run some oil through it to try to clean out the rest. Yeah. So I would be really careful. I would hopefully have taken the filters out and clean those and see how much debris is on there, because that clutch stuff is kind of heavy and it does fall to the, it kind of falls down to the bottom of the cases, and especially kind of where the oil pools up down on the bottom by the drain plug and down near the filter. You would want to, like what I would do if it was my bike and I did that, which I wouldn't wear my clutch out like that, is I would open up both the filter plug and the drain plug, and I would get some contact cleaner or, engine cleaner, contact cleaner, something that would, do this. And I would spray that in one hole, probably the oil filter hole, the screen filter hole. I would spray it in there and spray it around and have the bike leaning so that the debris is mostly inclined to go out the drain hole. So I would put the drain hole as low as possible, angle the bike over a little bit, and just after all that gunk settles down there, I would flush it out like that if you weren't planning on tearing it down, which in all honesty, I probably wouldn't either. I would try to flush it out. So yeah, that was a question we farmed off the YouTubes, and I told him that thanks that we could help. Okay, on to next. We're going on to the questions. What I was going to do here tonight was go on to the questions that are on. Where did it go? What happened? You see, YouTube, the Facebook's reset here, and it doesn't like me. And so now I need to go find that. I need to find that group again. Yeah, did you know KTM released the new 2026 EXC Hard Enduro? It has some flashy parts on it. Don't know if you saw that. So, where is my group here? If I knew how to operate these things better, I would have it covered. But I'm not really good with this one. So I'm going to search my groups, see if it. Here we go. Got it. It's in there. Now I have it set up. Watch this. You're going to be amazed at this. Look. See right there. There's my post that says we're going to answer some of your questions submitted here. So, and Mike Spurgeon from Takamoto says we deleted the earlier post about fuel pumps. So if you have any questions how they work or how they stack up against other products, you can email support@takomoto.co for more information. And the interesting thing is that of a lot of these companies, he has these kind of white sheets and stuff that that are really good information that he will send out to you when you reach out to them. So obviously, so probably some bad mouthing going on there or something. He is the administrator of this group. He runs this group that has a lot of good questions and generally a lot of good answers. So here is a guy. So today, when I went here to search for questions and topics and stuff, today is my KTM will not start day. And that never happens in Yamaha land because this show is brought to you by Yamaha. Of course, they don't care what we say, but they like that we speak the truth. And I'm going to tell you this straight up. The majority of the KTM started up just fine today, but everybody else today seemed to have some problems. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this one and see if I can get it to come alive. And
so I went to go start my bike, and I turn it on, turn the key, and I hit the start button, and this is what happens. Nothing. But if you let it sit for a second, you do hear some spark. It goes like, but yeah, I'm kind of stumped. I checked these fuses here, and they were fine. But when I turn it over, So I went to go start my bike.
Okay. So this is I don't know, George Crawford. No, he commented on the video. I don't know who it is. George instantly said dead battery. That's good. That's you start with the easiest thing on these for sure. Dead battery. Okay, that's number one. When the battery is dead, and especially when it sits for a while and it comes back on, and it makes a little bit of a different noise, that's a good sign of a dead battery. That happens all the time, especially with parasitic drains and all different kinds of stuff. Number two on the KTMs is that ground wire. The wire you can see right there in the video, the one that goes from the ground to the frame. And it goes back to the aluminum subframe, which should ground the whole bike. Those have been known to be problematic in the past. So if you have this doesn't start tick thing, of course, so I would check the terminals and that, and especially when you're hearing something that sounds like a little bit like a spark, not the solenoid firing, but the spark. That is one thing that you check kind of for the ground. And then I have had it, and if there is a weak link on some of the KTMs, it is with the wiring in general. And I've had the switches that he's pushing on, the start switches he's pushing on, I've had those go bad. I've had the wires snap around the headset. I've had the wires snap where the seat compressed on some of the wires, because they're trying to save a lot of wire, they're definitely trying to save a lot of weight with the wiring and stuff. So that's my answer for that, by the way, if you're curious. But I've had that happen before. That's how I know. So anyhow, here we go. Victor asks, do you consider the NOR 1000 easy and doable by the common weekend rider, or is it hard as a priest in a children's playground? And he's asking for a friend. So Victor, no idea about the priest, but I can tell you that the NOR 1000 is not easy, but it's doable. If it was easy, then everybody would do it and it wouldn't be any fun. But by the common weekend rider, I think so. It'd be like if your weekend rides mean that you go and you unload your bike and you race it around in the pits, and then you look for somebody else and you like flex a little bit and then you race around in the pits a little bit more and you don't actually go anyplace, and maybe you pull out a beer and drink it and then throw the can on the ground. That's not that weekend rider. But if you're a weekend rider, you're going out and you're putting in, a full tank of gas, maybe two, then yeah, it'd be no problem. So, but I don't know if it's as hard as you think it is or as hard as you envision it is with your your question. So okay, back to the Facebooks, and this is a KTM 500 with about 400 hours on it. He went hard on it. Let me see who went hard on it. Brody went hard on it. No, I don't. So this is one of those things. So this is kind of like, got it. Here's a clear post you can drop in the KTM 500 page. It gives enough detail for people to actually help diagnose. So at 400 hours, I don't know why you'd wait that long to go hard on it. But anyways, I think your riding would be relatively consistent. Or did you just find the first time you could like go out on the road and just hold it wide open, which it doesn't care. Before that, it had been missing a bit, so I put a new spark plug in and I changed the fuel filter, which helped. But now the noise, I'm worried that it could be something worse. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this video make noise here. It might be loud. Okay, so that's a KTM. That's a typical KTM 500. And here's the thing about putting your video up on the thing. It depends on which angle your phone is and what side of the motor you're on, because the phone speakers are pretty sensitive and they pick up kind of some different noises. So when that thing started up, it sounded pretty normal when he gets it going. And then you kind of hear some sort of a knock or a shake inside of there. And at 400 hours, it could be anything. I also noticed that he has an aluminum skid plate on this bike. So just so you know, aluminum skid plates are really good at shooting the sound back up at you. So they amplify the sound you're hearing, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing is that maybe you'll pick up something a little bit sooner than you ordinarily would. Bad because they resonate a lot of noise back. So back to the questions. And Dave Donnelly says, you must run an auxiliary ground wire to the coil area to get a proper ground on the KTM 500s. I've had a proper ground on my KTM 500s with the stock mounting location for the entire time I've owned them. And I probably have, I'm probably in the upper 0.0001% of people with hours on those things. And then I guess I hesitated when I said I think so. That means you're in for it. Yeah, you should be in for it, Victor. So back to that knocking noise. Like I said, it could be anything. KTM 500s, famously clutch dampers. And you would be blown away by how much that clutch damper noise transcends and just circulates, or it overcomes every other noise. And it seems like every other noise. And even with my technique of taking the screwdriver and putting it up against my ear and chasing that sound, that clutch noise sound seems like it travels. It sounds like cam chains before. I've replaced a cam chain before because I thought it was the cam chain and it was the clutch dampers. So number one, just replace the clutch dampers, especially if they have more than like 30 hours on them. I get 50 and 80 hours out of them, no problem. And then it really depends on what I'm doing with the bike and how hard I'm riding it. But I didn't say I went hard on the bike. Not like a priest in a playground. You can kind of the noise, and it comes on so slowly and progressively that you kind of hardly notice. It just becomes normal. But I would start with always just do that. It's easy. It's quick to get in there and do it, and you'll notice right away whether that fixes the problem. So I just went through this knocking with one of my bikes that's been rebuilt a couple times, but I was wondering I thought it was piston slap, and for sure there was some piston slap, and that kind of makes a kind of a certain noise. And so when he does that thing where he just revs it up and you hear it make a little bit extra kind of noise, that could be piston slop. The other thing is, it could be the bearings, so big end, small end, just some kind of a bearing thing. And then I always ask, usually to get there, you have to have run it low on oil or have not changed your oil enough. And believe me, when I say change your oil, it's not that often. I mean, you can get a lot of oil life before your oil is going to cause severe problems. So what I would do is I worried about this thing. Number one, change your oil. Change your oil, pull the oil filter out, and cut the filter open and look at the pleats. I've done tech talk. I've done tech on this before. Look at the pleats and see if there's anything in there. Because if the rod or if the piston is starting to do bad things, you will see some material. Of course, the piston stuff is generally aluminum. The rod is metal. So it you'll see it in two different places, but the filter will catch a lot of it. And then the magnet will tell you the difference between whether it's aluminum and or metal. So check on that. And since it's sitting there still, it's not anything in the transmission. It has to do something with that. Of course, there's cam chain. Cam chain's a little more tinny, a little more slappy. And if you do change oil and everything looks good, by God, put new oil back into it and see if that helps. And make sure you're running kind of the right viscosity range, because I've seen people put the wrong viscosity range oil in and not have good things. But yeah, a lot of people told him to take the skid plate out and do other things. I don't know. But this is one of those things where now that this video has been, now that Brody put this up here, if that's Brody's bike, I want to know. But I think he stole this video from someplace else and put it up here. And now everybody thinks that every KTM is going to blow up, and that's not the case. They run for a long, long time. Got a question here from Will Briggs that I'm going to answer, but I'm going to go I don't have anything new in the chat, so I can keep going here. If you have your question, just throw it up in the chat. All 5 people that are, maybe 2 people that are actually watching this show. I think I have about 30 friends that just turn it on and let it stream while they're actually watching something else. I do this too. Actually, it's amazing how much information you can pick up from something in the background. So just don't discriminate there. So, fellow riders, what is everyone doing in terms of navigation, mounts, brackets, and towers? That's a dangerous question, Will. There's a lot of people you don't want answers from. I want to use my phone for navigation, but find it too low and not forward enough to easily view while standing. You're correct in that. While you're riding, you probably shouldn't be looking down for long periods of time. I have a technique for this, but it's reserved for people that pay the exorbitant amount of money I charge for my rally navigation class. I've seen very expensive rally towers, and I've seen some more affordable options on AliExpress. Keen to hear from the hive mind. What are you using? Pros, cons, durability, etc. Thanks so much, and happy, safe riding, y'all. Well, y'all, Will, the easiest, most simple thing to do is to get what I would do. I have a lot of experience with this. And I don't run those expensive rally towers and stuff, even when I'm navigating. I just mount the stuff so I can see it. I don't need any extra stuff on my bike. I'm not trying to win races, and I'm not trying to be aerodynamic. And I know exactly what I'm going to put on there, and that's all I do. I would go check out some of the stuff that Double Take Mirrors has. They have a really good RAM-style mount system. I would get some stuff from Double Take. They have different kinds of mount options and everything. And find a good carrier for the phone you want to use. And I have been using these ones from SP Connect. So they have a vibration dampening one, and they have one that'll charge so I can run it to a USB, all that stuff. So I've used those. I wish I had a discount code for them or something like that. I would give it out. But I do have a discount code for Double Take. And if you email me, I can help you out with this. So I would do that because it's some of the most secure mounting, and it's I want to say infinitely, but it's very adjustable. You can move it around to different positions. You can use different length arms. You can set it at different angles. And that would probably be the way that I would go. Everybody, I think a lot of people want to make their bike look like a rally bike, and they kind of go that thing. And then they find that your stuff that's up there can't be maneuvered around enough to get you into a good position. So, okay, just now in the chat, we've got one. Lane M. This is how we do this. I do 9 out of 10 questions without referring to a reference manual, and Frank White is watching me. You know, it's funny, Frank, when I was talking with Mike Young last week, I couldn't remember your name, but don't feel bad. Because we were talking about the ogre. We were talking ogre, and so we made some pretty good jokes. Anyway, so Lane just bought a 2017 KTM 350 XCF. It only has 100 hours on it, and it was owned by a 60-year-old vet rider. Stoked about the bike, but my first air fork. I ride a lot of trails. Should I convert to fork springs? That's a very personal question, Lane. I mean, air or springs. That's not something most of us can't talk about in public. So I'll answer this right now here on Tech Talk. There's a different feel between the two of them. And the 2017 is kind of the early version of KTM's. It's the earlier version of the KTM's air fork. I mean, they haven't changed it much, but I think some of the seals and things like that have gotten better. So if it holds its pressure, when you're riding, if the pressure, it'll heat up and it stays consistent throughout the day. and I wouldn't worry about it. I would just keep using it. Just have it serviced. And if you do have it serviced, make sure the person that's servicing it is familiar with the WP stuff. They're WP service centers, and I'm pretty sure that any of those could bring it up to current spec as far as the seals and things like that. The WP system is really good because it's a single chamber and it self-regulates and does all the stuff that it's good. So the air forks typically have a more progressive feel. So they're sometimes the stiction, the initial movement isn't as good as a spring, but once it moves, it tends to be a little bit plusher in the lower part of the stroke and then ramps up and it's able to be really progressive at the end. I like air forks. I like how light they are. I like how light the steering feels with them. And I just like the overall progressive nature of the fork. And I find for most of the times I can tune them to my liking. And based on performance, I would not change it. But if you prefer a spring feel, which is definitely different, then I would convert it to springs right away without thinking about it if that's what I wanted. But because a lot of times you're talking about when people go to the air fork, they're worried about like durability. And by all means, don't think that a 6-year-old vet rider is taking it easy on his bike, because you never know. I know some 6-year-old vet riders, and they can beat the crap out of stuff. So, yeah, Lane, hopefully that answers your question. If it does, get back to us on what you do. Let us know. Mark Allen has a question. I watched a video of someone recommending a Cush Drive hub for dual sport riding on a modern 50, 500, 501. Isn't this redundant since the clutch already has dampers in it? Yes, Mark, 100% redundant. But it's not going to hurt anything. It's a heavier rear wheel and stuff like that. It's not going to hurt anything, but I imagine it could let the clutch dampers last a little bit longer, but I don't know. I think I don't have any science to base this on, but yeah, I'm sure that the person recommending the Cush Drive was he also selling one or doing a test on it, that he got the product for free and he felt like he needed to pay for it? Yeah, don't know. Brian Horton says, when I worked at the dealer, we had a couple air fork bikes come in with forks completely compressed, still full of air. Never did hear what the fix was. So that was, I'm trying to think when Brian was working back at the dealer, that was a little ways back. There were some issues. I mean, and there were so many air forks and so many bad stories of air forks, just like that KTM 500 we just watched the video of, that now every KTM 500 is going to have a tick. You heard about all the bad things that happened with those forks. It wasn't as common as the internet would have you believe, and I have no idea how they could be full of air while still fully compressed unless something broke inside there. It just doesn't make sense. So there we go. And Trent Zimmerman, he says he missed a recent episode. Okay, so that means you need to do 100 push-ups. But he emailed about Blund racing oils. There are people out there who show it coming out looking brand new after 30 hours on a two-stroke. Any experience or thoughts? So the Blund, we're talking about the premix oil, or are we talking about the transmission fluid? So, I'll just tell you what I know about oil. It's kind of like religion, and we all know what Victor thinks about priests. So, got to be careful there. If you put oil inside of a motor and it comes out looking brand new, I'm worried that it's not doing its job, because it's supposed to get in there and have some detergent. They're supposed to go in there and do some detergent activity. And that's why the oil becomes dirty and contaminated, because it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's picking up contaminants. It's suspending them. Some of the oil's getting burnt. There's a lot of stuff. Mark, okay, I'll give it. So, yeah, this is what it's like oil's supposed to do stuff. So as soon as you get back to me on that, whether it's says trans oil. Okay, yes. So if you're putting it in a transmission and it's not getting worn after 30 hours, either the guy's never using his clutch and his I would say his bike has enough time on it to where everything's still good, and the transmission is, well broken in, so it doesn't need to clean itself. I can see it. I've seen transmission coil come out pretty clean, but after 30 hours, not so much, especially not on a bike with a clutch. So I would, and this rolls into my thing. So Mark Allen says, he asked about the Cush Drive. He said, Cush Drive Hub Guy was a popular YouTuber who put about $7,000 in aftermarket parts on his bike. I'm going to tell you something about popular YouTubers. They don't ride very much. They spend time being popular on YouTube, kind of like me. I spend all my time tweaking the algo AI consumptions to make this show and all of our dirt bike test stuff just go viral. That's why you see us posting crash videos, only of Trevor, and really shocking. You're never going to believe this. 500 hours on a this. It'd all be Yamaha's because Yamaha is a sponsor of this show, and they do give us money that helps us stay afloat to pay for the lights in this well-lit plush office that I have here. I'd be willing to bet that the office that I'm sitting in right now is bigger than most of the editorial outlets that you now get your information from. That's not to mention the shop that I have that's bigger than I left that business. Actually, I tried to build a shop. I built a shop at Dirt Rider because I wanted to work on the bikes. And they said, why do you need to do that? You can just take the press releases and regurgitate it. And that spilled over into YouTube. Now you take this free product and talk about it. Talk about how awesome it works. So Brian came clean on the compressed air forks he was trying to start rumors on. Thanks, Brian. But they were both on snow bikes, and he was sure they were beat on pretty hard. So that's the example we're using for everybody else who uses their bike normally. And that's where it starts. But good on that for getting us that info. I can see that in really cold conditions, that the air fork, because it doesn't have as much lubrication. There is lubrication in there, but and then with those seals getting tight on stuff, I could see stuff happening, I would guess. Let's see. Mark Daniels says he sees that Crest suspension is back in business. I saw that too. I mentioned that. I saw that someplace. I haven't really researched it, but good for them. I mean, their stuff was solid. I was really impressed. They did a full suspension package for me, and it wasn't inexpensive. It was expensive, but the stuff I got came back, worked as good as kit suspension, and I still have it on. It's on my 300 right now. I have it on one of my 300s, and it actually needs to be serviced right now for the second or third time since I've had it there. But I've just been getting it serviced, and it works great. So yeah, hopefully they're doing well. Trans oil, yes. Fork oil, yes. Okay, yeah, yeah. So it's coming out of forks looking clean. Well, that's good. You'd be surprised at how long fork oil will last in a good high quality fork, but you'd be amazed at how quickly it goes bad in a fork that doesn't have the right coatings and stuff like that. And I was talking to a really sharp suspension guy the other day, and he was literally telling me how high quality the WP stuff is compared to the Japanese stuff, which kind of surprised me because this guy works mostly on Japanese stuff and he knows a lot about it. And he was saying that, yeah, the WP stuff, the stuff that he'd worked on was really, really high quality. So take that. Couldn't be as good as the Kayaba stuff on the Yamahas that always gets rave reviews. If you want to know about the new Yamaha 450, go to Dirt Bike Test, check out my impression on that, and you can always leave a comment and say that I look fat. And then you'll drive me into deep depression, and I'll quit drinking and eating, which might be what I'm doing right now. Back to the questions on the Facebooks. Here we go. Jeff Thomas has a question 5 hours ago. He said, I have a question regarding the fuel pump compatibility between a 21 450 SXF and a 2023 KTM XCW. KTM lists different part numbers for the pump assembly. Well, I'll just tell you what I know off the top of my head. They have some different part numbers because some of the hoses inside, but all the physical parts are the same. And I've swapped them between a couple different configurations with no issue. So he says, I'm getting a lower than usual pressure from the 450 pump. Last year it was around 48 and now it's 42. I will replace the in-tank filter and retest it, but the pump may be on its way out with 156 hours. To my question, I have a good pump from the 300, and I'm curious if it will fit in the housing in the 450 assembly. Yeah, the pump will change. I think the whole assembly will just drop right in. As long 21 and 23. Wait a minute. Is the 20? If the 23 is the new style? No, it won't. That's completely different. It depends on the years. If it's the same thing, if it's the big 2-piece guy, those from 2012 all the way to till whenever they stop making them is different. And then the ones that kind of drop in now in the center, the 1-piece design, those are different. At 42 psi, I wouldn't worry about it. Replacing the intake filter is never a bad idea. That could be part of the problem, but there we go. That's the answer. Oh, here we go. Here's a good one. Idaho single track ate the oil glass window on a 500 at the Moscow Dusty Lizard event. The rider made it out of the woods some 20 miles. Well, so I want to know, did the rider know that the oil level thing was broken? The good thing is that is the high level of the oil, and so it's only going to spit a little bit out. I mean, you can sit there and start the bike and watch it, and even when you're revving it up and stuff, only a little bit's drooling down. You're going to get the oil mist blowing out of there, but I don't think it's all going to blow out. I'd go take a punch right now and punch one of those glasses out, and I'd ride it 40 miles, just so you know. I've never broke one before. Broken open like that. I've cracked them. I've had them cracked before, but never broken like that. And in my world, that's a little bit of JB Weld. Slap it over the top and call it good. That's how I would fix it. Or bubble gum, or I could put tape over it. You could just stick tape all around it and get yourself home. But not a huge problem, but can happen. And right here, Clayton says, I had done that a couple times. Well, so he's a pro at this. I don't know how you do this. I had a quarter and some JB Weld, and we made it back 50 miles. I started carrying change in my pack with JB Weld quick stick. Yeah, so we're all doing the same tricks. Okay, hey, another KTM starting. Let's go. We gotta see what it says.
Choke is on. I'm gonna try to start it again. Then completely stops. I try to start it without the choke. Get that. Just doesn't want to go. Choke again.
Okay, I'm just going to start and run. He's going to turn the choke off and it's going to stop. Yep. Seen it plenty of times before. So a couple things. The usual. Does your bike have gas in it? Let's just start. So the first question I would ask this guy is, what was the last thing you did to this bike? What was the last thing you did to this bike when it was working perfectly, and it started doing this, or did it do this slowly over time? Because that's a big question. That's gonna steer where we go. But anyways, let's just say it just started doing it. Then I lean towards throttle position sensor, and not throttle position sensor necessarily malfunctioning, something hitting the throttle position sensor or knocking it out of whack, something to do with the throttle position sensor. This happens. And Trent Zimmerman, thank you. The 23 XCW is still TPI. Thank you. Older style. So they would go between. I have switched between my 300 tank and a it was a 450. I just swapped the tank straight across. I think it was those two. Swapped the tank straight across on some bikes once. So yeah, they'll work out. KTM likes to keep a lot of the parts the same. So back to this starting issue. So Doug says it sounds like the pump, the fuel pump. So a lot of times you can hear the fuel pump. You can hear it start up and go. A lot of times when it won't idle and it'll run at a higher RPM, it sounds like it's idling good. It's not idling weird when he opens it up, when he turns the thing on. But I don't know if this is the one I saw one. Okay, this
choke is on. I'm going to try to start it again.
So this guy doesn't. There's a guy here. There's another guy whose KTM wouldn't start, and when he has the same problem, exact same problem ish. But when he starts, he revs his bike, and I see smoke come out. And it looks like he started it a couple times, so it's not just that first. It's not that first little bit. It shouldn't smoke. It should smoke the first maybe couple times you pump it, but then that kind of cleans out the intake track where the oil's coming from. So this guy's not doing it because then you go down the road. Okay, could it be like tight valves? Could be, but it's rare on these bikes. You have to usually run a little bit of dirt through it. But throttle position sensor, the fuel pump can be an issue. But then also I've seen it when it does this. Sometimes the one of the fuel lines, or more than likely the fuel filter, is actually cracked and leaking a little bit. But it will run crappy like all the time. So if it's just on this startup stuff, and then it runs like while it's when you're giving it gas, that just leans more and more towards the other thing. But the most simple thing that this could be is his idle has just come out of adjustment somehow, and that usually wouldn't be an instant thing happening. It would be something that would happen over time. So I would say, there we go. I would say, check the thing. Idle is too low. Did you try using the filter just in case it's being restrictive? What? The filter in case it's being restrictive. Let's see. The bike will not even start in warm days without the choke on. That's weird. No, the filter, the air filter. If the air filter is clogged, yeah. Let's see. He's going to take you could take the filter out and see if it changes anything. That would be a good thing. And somebody says, I'd start with a good carby clean. Really good on a fuel injected bike. Yeah. So no problem. Let's see. If you check the valve clearance, turn up the idle a little bit. And then Bill says you need to post your year, model, and tune of your bike, because everybody on this post tunes their bike like with a tuner. And let's see, yeah. So that's all I can stomach on that one. I want to get to the next guy that starts up his bike and wonders why it doesn't work. Okay, here is this it? Here are we here? Let's see. No, that's the fuse guy. That's the other one again. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Here's another one. I'm trying to... There we go. Here's our next guy. Does this sound normal? It sounds like every KTM 500 based motor that I've ever heard before, and he's going to hit his posting quota in this group because he's wondering if this sounds normal. He hears a high pitched ticking, not sure it's normal, and the valves need adjusting. You'd probably do more if you think that this sound is wrong. If you take off your valve cover, you're going to do more damage to the bike, and than you would solve. Let's see. And here we go. Limbs Ryan says, all modern four strokes sound like this, sound like bad things are occurring. They're not. You're chilling. And it says, sounds mint. Make sure you do your first service at 1 hour, and then the next 34 hours is going to sound like a bag of marbles in your transmission. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Okay, so all the KTM people coming to this guy's rescue. That's good. He's going to help him out. Taco Mike smashed a radiator. If you would have bulletproof design guards on there, it probably wouldn't happen. That's what I'd say. Okay, so Luke Brown has a question, and he says, 2007 KTM 350EX. What? Did we just answer this question? No, because 2007 KTM AXC 350 was the suspension question, I think. So Luke has a 2017 KTM 350 EXC. When starting, it has a rattle coming from the engine. After a couple seconds, it goes away and sounds good. Is this normal? Yes, that's normal because it's a hydraulically activated cam chain tensioner. A lot of people like to tell you to go get the manual ones, but I've seen people not know how to adjust them properly. If you have somebody that knows how to adjust it, they can adjust them, but then it's not like, say, perfect all the time. That startup thing, a lot of times it depends on what kind of oil you're running, what temperature is outside, all this kind of stuff. Just be careful. Don't start it and hold it wide open on your first cold start, and you'll be fine with that. What is Tom Heen? 2025 XC. Lane says, I had a KTM 500 do this. It was a bad ground and JD tuner combination. Yes. I've had it, yeah. That's why the first question was like, what did you do to this bike? What was the last thing you did to it, or have you modified it in any way? Because if it's stock, we can run down this kind of chain of things. 2025 250 XCF. That's the 4-stroke. Did the first hair scramble. Felt like I was using first gear a lot, but second gear kept stalling in the slow stuff. It currently has a 1352 with a 118 link chain. Any recommendations? Better clutch work in second, not looking to go to a recluse. Well, I mean, who would ever go to a recluse clutch? I mean, why would you ever do that? That's just like saying that you don't know how to use your clutch, because I have one on every one of my personal bikes that I ride on a regular basis. I even sometimes run the recluse clutch cover so that people can come up and tell me that why do I ride that with that? Okay. So 1352 is up there. You're already pretty big, and going to the 12 on the front can be a little problematic on the wear pads on the swing arm. So XCF, I think those come with a semi-wide transmission, and man, I don't know. Better clutch work. Has it been turned? Okay, so he's going right into the tunes. That's what I would do in this. Better clutch work, like most, constantly feathering and popping at slow speeds. Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna get any bigger on that on the rear sprocket. You know, I know there's places where you can get 52 and 53. Or 53 and 54 tooth sprockets, but that's getting really big. So clutch, I'm just thinking out loud here. I found when we were doing the riding school, about half of my students had their clutch adjusted improperly. So just where the clutch engaged and disengaged, and especially on KTMs where it's so easy just to spin that knuckle on that adjustable clutch lever and try different positions, you would be amazed at how much it helps to have it in closer to the bars, where the engagement point is closer to the bars for people with smaller hands. And then riders with larger fingers, you know, they can run it a little bit farther out, but it's just in the leverage of that. The leverage of the lever actually changes inside of there. And so sometimes going a little bit closer kind of helps out. Since we're also talking about just like controls, sometimes people are a little bit hard on their rear brake. So if I was able to look at your bike and I noticed your rear brake was all smoked, I would say I'm leaning more towards you're the problem, as opposed to getting the gearing set up and hooked up a little bit differently, because that seems like a normal setup. 1352. I don't know specifically on that bike, but yeah, and I've never really heard of them having a lot of gaps. And usually you shouldn't use first gear at all. I mean, first gear should be like, the granny low. And so the other thing you could do, and I know a lot of people do this when they run into this, and I just clicked into my head, was you could also change your gearing to something like 1350 or maybe a 1452 and start using first gear all the time. So that would just, change a lot of stuff. Play with that gearing and then you use first gear. So, set it up so that first gear is good, but it's not, it's good for more. It has, make them, if you can't get second gear to do what you need to do, make first gear do what you need to do, and then gear it for that. So that's my take there. I want to get to the, I don't know anything about living in Florida, so I can't help John Hopper, but salt air outside is rusting some of the bolts. Is there a good kit? Can I replace all the bolts with tie or just some rust-proof bolts? If you're going to go to tie, I think you should just buy a garage. You should just get a garage to put your bike in. That's what I would do. Let's see. There's something here about, he's asking about a DR650 on the KTM group, but he wants to get something that's much better in the dirt, but still street legal. They class my bike as a 50/50, and I want to go to a 70/30. Not much crazy single track, mostly dirt roads. I'm thinking something around 500 cc's, but I'm not too keen on the concrete seat height, vibration, and higher maintenance of higher performance bikes. In addition to the KTM, Husky gas, considering Honda CR450L, DRZ 400, Kawasaki KLX 300, maybe a GS 450. Oh, don't, yeah. Or maybe a dirt bike street legal. So if you're happy with that DR650 as far as seat height, you're gonna really struggle with anything once you go up in seat height. I always tell people that are scared of seat height, I tell them this one thing because they want to put both their feet in the ground. How much do you ride with your feet on the ground? This is a serious question. Like, how much are you riding with your feet on the ground? Because if you're not riding with your feet on the ground all the time, the seat height doesn't really matter that much if you learn how to slide your butt off the side of the seat and put one foot down. I used to teach this in this riding school I used to do that I can't afford to do anymore because of insurance costs. But yeah, there's a lot out there. Concrete seat. There's a company called Seat Concepts that will make you a seat that will fit your butt, and that'll help out. Seat Concepts has been a supporter of this pod, as we like to call it in this world. Hey, look, somebody reposted the broken sight glass. Great. That's what they're doing. Reposting the bad stuff. How to build an enduro cross track. Don't. This looks like a bike that somebody submitted for Roosterendo. Ben Howard. I can't remember. I'll bet you somebody has actually done this. They've gone on the internet, stole a good picture of a bike, submitted it to Roosterendo. That's the show where it's the show. I'm so full of my reads. We basically take your bike and we say whether it Roosterendo's and we give you $100 for it. That's it. So this guy, 2012 KTM 500 EXT, but it runs great and starts to burn oil like a two-stroke. Other than did I answer this last time on the show? I think I did. I don't know. Maybe I answered his question. Maybe he emailed me this question. Oh yeah, no, I answered it on this forum. It says, dirtbiketest.com says, figure out where the oil is coming from first. Start by looking in the airbox to see if it is pooling from the cam bearing seal blow-by. Most miss this. So I'll just tell you that my 2012-ish KTM 500s always smoke a little bit. They always do, and they even when I rebuild them, they still do. And most of the time that is coming from the oil that's getting out the vent tube into the airbox. So, and then I have found out with huge amounts of miles that sometimes the cam bearing seal, the seal that because it basically breathes the pulses of the engine go through the center of the cam, and that's where the venting is. And the idea is that the oil mist will go in there, and hopefully that it'll condense on the cam while it's spinning, or the way it's designed, it'll actually pool, and it's hard for it to get through that cam while it's spinning, and then it'll stay inside of the motor. It's a really brilliant design. It's really ingenious. But if the seal that allows that cam, all the oil to lubricate that cam, if that seal goes out, it actually creates a vacuum and starts sucking oil out there, and then it goes in the airbox, then it goes through your motor, and then it smokes. And I always say, how much oil is it really burning? If you're burning like 100 cc's on a tank of gas, and he's got a massive tank on that thing, I wouldn't worry about it. So that's the answer to that question. I think I know I've seen that before, but I also thought that bike was submitted for Rooster Endo, but that shows how my memory works. Hey, back into the thing. Yep, carry the 5 peso coin, some JB weld, and you'll always have an oil window leak solved. Yeah, but what's your oil level then? So, Shim says, have you checked out the new Cove MX bikes? Would love to hear my take on them. I have not. It's funny because Cove was all high on me when I did a very nice review on their rally bike, and then I really haven't heard much from them since. So I don't know. I think they have a way of going after the influencers who will say good things about their stuff before they give it to somebody who will say everything about their stuff. And I think they use the influencers as a kind of a testing ground to see what they break and what they're saying, and before they're going to give it to somebody who might go a little bit farther. Like an influencer will not say things bad because they want to get another free one. I actually don't want to get a Cove bike because it's more work. Every bike that shows up around here to test is more work, and I've got to ride a Can-Am more, and I've got to ride some SSR some more, and want to go ride my regular bike. So, okay, I think I'm going to go one more question, then I'm going to call it. So if you're sitting there going, man, I should ask him these questions, and you should ask it right now because it's the final round. It's the hot round, and then I might read an excerpt. Unless you guys can, I think you can go in there and send me money on the YouTubes. I might read a passage from Coffee Brewed with a Graveyard Mist, because I know there's no way that Jerry is on here this long. Because this is gambling. This is gambling reading this thing on here. So anyways, because I don't want to give everybody bad dreams, and if I read it, I might have them. So, but you could also order this book on the internet. Oh, here's the one I was looking for. Good, glad I found this. Let me go back to this. Here's this guy here who 2016 SXF 350. Note the smoke coming out. Oh, you're not going to be able to see it here. Let me close this down and his bike isn't starting either. It's like all KTMs, they never start. Now he's going to turn the choke on. Uh-oh. Is that smoke? And he's having the same sort of problem. So I'm going to go down the same thing. He's got a really nice black plastic kit on this thing. Okay, so I'm gonna mute that. He's going to start it up a few more times, and every time he revs it, it's Jake Madden here. He said, Joe says he did similar issue, did the fuel filters, but made no difference, right? Checked the valve clearance, and they were all out of spec. Reshimmed them to the correct spec and cleaned up the earth points at the coil and small earth near which had some corrosion, and it starts and runs perfect. So a couple of these guys are saying that their ground wire is the culprit on this. And I mean, I can see that happening. I think you would have more issues with the way it cranked in all honesty, if the ground was bad. But if it starts running and that vibration is enough to, cause some issues with that ground, I could see it happening. But again, so when this one's blowing oil out, that leads me a little bit more to maybe there's a little bit more time on this bike. Maybe there's something wrong with the valves. But when it starts, it doesn't sound all that bad. KTM 350s can be a little bit noisy. 2016s, not as much as the newer ones, because the newer ones, it seems like they did a lot of stuff to loosen up the engine, and the noise increased. Durability stayed the same, but and I've got a 350 with like 800 hours on it now, and I've never rebuilt it. I think shimmed the valves maybe once or twice a little bit, but didn't need to. So that's my. Let's see. JB Black says he wins. He's gonna win. I guess I owe him La Fonda right now. So let me see if I can do this properly on this show. So since you didn't pay me, that nobody sponsored the segment for me not to read an excerpt from Coffee Brewed with a Graveyard Mist, I'm going to leave you on this note. Does the ignition coil have its own ground wire bolted to the frame? The ignition coil is bolted to the frame, and it's kind of grounded out there. But I've never really had a problem with this. But then again, I don't live in an environment where things get wet and everything, where I could see it do some stuff. So, okay, I'm just opening it up. I think I read that last week, so I can't. It was a nice short one I saw. I'm just going to try to find a short one. Hold on. There's some that are 2 pages long, and I don't think we have that time. Here we go. From Coffee Brewed with a Graveyard Mist, this is Holy Trucker Tan.
Jesus came back from the grave, but I noticed he had tan lines. I had to call bullshit. Jesus didn't like that. He had that snooty, I'm only a child attitude after I called him out. I'm not even sure he's real, so why should I believe him? Or believe in him? He could have snuck down to the bottom, got a tan, and some barbecue to go. The offspring of a powerful people have to buck the system. Rule breakers, yes, that's them. I heard there's cool weather coming up north, where he says his condo is. How could he get a trucker tan bathed in white light? That's where clouds vacation during the winter. I'm not dumb. I mean, really, Jesus.
Okay, so there we go. You didn't pay for it, and you got it. We will see you at the next exciting episode of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, where I can answer 9 out of 10 motorcycle questions, and I will probably not see you out on the trail because I'm going to go riding all by myself. See ya! Now I got to turn the show off. Make it stop. If you liked what you saw in this video, come check us out over at dirtbiketest.com on the webs. We have bike tests, product tests, a lot of fresh dirt, and you can even support us by clicking through our links. Hopefully, we'll see you out in the trail.